Jumping ahead, trying to get to
Oh
that
no, it is
200 mark.
155. Oh my
What?
gosh!
Oh, I remember we made all the Pokemon jokes around like 151.
Yeah, yeah, that happened. So anyway, it's 155 now, and today we have the ever fluffy Fluffy's Eye.
Hello.
And
We
there's a
have the ever rotting but still awesome and handsome Living Dead
Q pencil case is buried under a pile of fluff.
of winter clothing.
Yes.
And Allie Claw, if the bus ever manages to deliver her home,
The,
she'll.
the the queen of plushies, the queen of the plushie fort is coming on the bus. It should be soon, hopefully.
All right. So we have 3 pictures submitted today. Remember,
Yay.
if you have any pictures you'd like to submit, please fire them towards our faces at high velocity, and we'll try and catch
Like
them.
a art cannon.
Yes, like some type of art cannon. Art
Just don't
cannon
actually
shit.
murder us.
And we'll do our best to critique them. And if not, Q Pencil Case is just gonna cover a canvas in doodles, as is tradition. So let's start with the one on the top.
I actually didn't even notice that one was up there until now. It's like a whole another part of the canvas with some amazing art on it. I'm like, that can't be part of the critiquing. That's too great.
So we actually critiqued this one uncolored last week.
Mm-hmm.
And it was gorgeous then. And holy
It's
cow,
more gorgeous now.
your colors, moi, delicious. Like, look at this, what's coming off of her
So
mane.
bad. Yeah, I was noticing that. That's just so good. It's like an actual fire, like a Bunsen burner fire.
It's gorgeous. There is still some notable oddness going on. It mostly seems to come from the lighting and how you built out the shapes. Like if you've inset the eyes, which is cool and makes a whole lot of sense because they're eyeballs and they aren't just like stickers stuck on a head. But then your muzzle itself appears to have been put on flat.
Actually, what I would do is definitely, give them some shape to the nose and bridge there, but also give them some nice cheek. Brushes are difficult.
Hello, Shalom Wolf.
There we go.
So the way
Nice squishy.
I normally try and give that shape, especially with the shadow, is your light is going to be hitting the bottom of the nose where I'm going to color in with green. It's going to hit this area differently than it is hitting what's above it in blue. So I would drop that shadow slightly across there and make it a very clear jagged edge because there's a layer of separation going on there because their muzzles stick out the end of their face and then comes back to that area. That's gorgeous. Dim wings.
Very, very nice picture. So the head should sort of dip in where the eye socket is, and then extend a little bit for the temple and for the cheek, which is what I've drawn for these, just to sort of show that, because their heads really shouldn't be exact circles, even if they are like that in the show. But like, you're putting so much attention to detail into the rest of this picture and the anatomy that like you might as well do that for the heads as well, just to make it give the extra level of like softness and sort of that nice shape that these have, rather than just because otherwise it feels like it just falls a little bit short.
I do notice with as far as the mains go, they're gorgeous in their coloring and their shading, but you've given directionality to the hair. And the problem with what I would suggest for how you've built it up is you've gone against the color flow that's going on there. Like Twilight's is a better example than Sunset Shimmer.
Sunset.
Sunset.
Voiced by Rebecca Soyshet.
Yes. Twilight's hair has done a sudden and hard shift across this line that doesn't show up because I'm using bad colors for that. Across this line and this line here. and it's kind of jarring for how you've shaded it. My suggestion would be go look at a few other artists like Danny Vixen and them. When they do separations of hair like this, they'll actually make them bodies, because you aren't dyeing your hair in lines, you're sort of dyeing them in bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going down the hair. It's very weird to do like a line flat across, because it would not hold at all as soon as your hair shifted, even though they are magical flying unicorn horses. Ignore that fact. Let's talk the reality of a hair.
Ignore the fact that they're actually born with this styling.
Maybe it's just Maybelline.
This is treated as if it is for the time being.
But my suggestion is take your color and actually make it flow with the rest of that body of the shading, or the body of the hair. The advantage of this is it's going to give it more life to that. It's going to feel less like a highly rendered cartoon and more like a higher rendered cartoon. How am I going with this one? Well, what's my thought pattern here? It's gonna look less jarring than it is now, because it looks like a wig. That's what I'm getting at.
I give it more sort of layers and 3D depth rather than being like a solid sheet with color on it.
Yeah. There you go, Fluffy. You got my back. I do notice Twilight's wing wasn't moved at all, because last time we discussed, we were talking about bringing Twilight's wing down to her shoulder, I believe. And that's fine. Yeah, artist decision. It does
look like it's come out the back a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's built on her spine.
It shouldn't be too. I mean, artist decision. If you want to keep that way, it's absolutely fine. I can see how you sort of like this flow going on here, but you can keep that. You don't have to like interrupt that really. It's just about bringing it so it looks like it's coming from like the actual sort of wing shoulder here. And I mean, it wouldn't be too hard to fix. You just color the parts of the hair in here and just like, well, I can't make a. There we go. And you can just give it a bit of a fix. Or there might be a bit of the sort of back and shoulder in there. Actually, I'm not sure.
I think it might be a bit late in the progression of the picture to fix that at this point.
Oh, maybe. I mean, definitely you don't actually have to, because this is such like a finished piece. Like a lot of the stuff that we're sort of pointing out could just be like notes for next time, because I understand that you wouldn't like. I've gotten to pictures like this where it's like there are like 80 layers and like all these different like shading layers and like over effects, and then there's like alternate versions that have to be like changed separately to be consistent, and then it's like to make a single change is like 3 hours of work. So it's like I understand that. Any like simple thing was like, oh, I'm just gonna try and like just slap some color here and see if that like changes it slightly, because sometimes if you have like a nagging thing in the back of your head, sometimes it's worth listening to before it's too late. Because like I've gotten to the point where like a picture is like at that point where it's like finished, and it's like, no, there's this one thing that's been bothering. It bothered me slightly, and it was bothering me more and more the further I got into the image, and the more I tried to ignore it, and I have to fix it. And it's like now I have to go back and change everything. It's like I wish I had listened to myself before. I don't have anything else though. I think it's really, really cool. It's lovely atmospheric. It's very well colored. The poses are very dynamic and nice.
Mm-hmm. Keep it up. Next
to move.
All right, we're gonna do the Fluttershy one.
Okay. I don't. This isn't canon. I don't agree.
No, the Fluttershy's cottage has not burned down in MLP yet. So here's a spooky Fluttershy by Crystal Coffee. Ooh, that sounds like it'd be sharp. Very sharp and shiny coffee.
Nope.
And so far, all the responses are just going, bro, dude, bro. I feel a great disturbance, as if a million voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced. That's what I was going for, thanks! Oh my god! They're dark. Alright, so let's talk horse going on here. their cartoon style seems to be pretty consistent among their faces. Um,
Hmm.
like, I assume what Dash is doing.
Yeah, I do like the sort of expressiveness of the style. Do they have any specific questions to this?
No.
Okay.
Um, I, their head shading over here is really cool. It is odd to see the head shading when you've gone ahead and used. Oh no, those are just regular markers. If they're like Copics, you could have just like layered it without anyone noticing, and it would have looked like shading and would look cool. But the head shading is very nicely done over here. It is odd seeing the muzzle as it is because
Yeah.
you've
It sort of pokes it out like a nose rather than being like a full muzzle shape.
yeah. Um, so as I said in the previous one, the way the light's going to be cast across that, not across it. I think you're going to end up with more something like this, and it'll just follow, or the rest of the shadow will fall across her face
Mm.
of that muzzle. So doing a crest, because we can see that the light is cresting on her head here. So I think I'd also make it crest on the end of the muzzle. And because it is a round, they're like round boopers, I would do that.
Snoop.
Yeah, a booper snoot. I'd do that crest inwards. Their body shape is very interesting. It the way they've done like the neck and shoulder, it looks very deliberate in the approach, and it makes sense. It's interesting. I
Mm.
I will note for no, that's a neck there. Okay, never mind. Never mind. Mm, yeah, I got nothing. Your cartoon style looks good. I would work on your readability a little bit because you shouldn't have to have arrows to help someone read.
Yeah, and it's confusing more because you got this one up here, and it's like, is that just ignored because you're going this way, and there's nothing like pointing up to this one? So is that just like a practice one at the side? I don't know.
Also, those are written by someone in this chat. I don't know who did that. I think that might have been CPC based on the cleanness. Yeah, that's all I got. Next, just record time here. We're in a relay race of art. And the last one on our docket is by Purple Book Course. We've had them in our chat before, in our art sites. We've done pictures of them. No, we've critiqued pictures of them before.
Buy them. We're not drawn pictures of the artist.
I actually I think I've drawn Purple Book Horse. They're in our giveaway thing. I think. So their art has improved quite a bit. Scrolling through their art history.
So you got a very, very particular sort of style of coloring here. Like it's obviously a lineless style, but instead of trying to go for like shade, like full realistic shading to separate everything, give it like sort of readability and depth, you've obviously just kept everything quite simplistic, which is very nice. Like it's a very interesting style. I am just sort of trying to understand why like the approach for everything being so jagged. Like it's you quite clearly like just sort of done this or done lots of different strokes. I'm not quite sure what sort of method you've gone to, but it's clear you're not doing like an even shape, or even then like say taking this color and then like trying to like correct a little bit, which wouldn't be hard to do. I do like artist choice. You can decide for yourself what you want to do, absolutely. But like personally, I would make everything a bit neater. I would get rid of this like jaggedness because I think with this sort of simplistic style, it would look a lot nice. Sort of paying to the minimalistic side of it to be less jagged and be a lot more smooth shapes. It could even work as vector if you wanted to do that. That's a for some people it can be a lot easier to do than typical like pixel art. Depending on sort of your preferences. I've talked to some people who said they've got like an unsteady hand, so they physically can't draw without this jaggedness happening. In which case, vector can be a very good choice. I did it for quite a while, and I really liked it. But I think you could it could create quite a nice looking, interesting style with this. It just needs a bit more like neatening up because that's the only thing at the time being that I can sort of see about the coloring is it's you got a very very nice idea, but it feels very raw. Like it feels like you're just sort of slapping on like shapes without really much thought to neatening them up and uh, how everything sort of comes together. I would definitely make sure that you do lots of under sketching. Make sure you sort of have a good thought about the anatomy and like perspective and positions of everything before you do the coloring, and then you can do the coloring however you want. If you want to do it like full lined piece, or if you want to do it the way you're doing it now, that's fine. But like as long as you've got like the groundwork done in sketch, then it will help everything look a lot more balanced.
Yeah,
Something
I agree.
like this, yeah, like the sun here, for example, is like a bit wonky, whereas it could do with being a little bit more sort of balanced and symmetrical looking. I sort of get the idea of like having of sort of throwing out art very quickly. Because like I wish I could, um, but it's very hard to turn off once you get that like routine into your head of like working everything out and placing everything and making sure everything's extremely neat and tidy, and like realistic looking. It's very hard to turn that off, but it just depends on how far you want to go with it. Do you have anything, LD?
Now uh, the characters ended up very 2D, but it looks like the goal was 2D. But I
Yeah,
mean, they're also missing elements like the second ears, the second wings.
yeah. Something I was sort of thinking about was like when I was talking about like laying down like the groundwork of sketching, positioning and stuff. I was thinking about like Nightmare Moon because she could be a little bit more sort of positioned to show off this like angle of like looking from below, and so we're sort of looking at it from this angle, this really intimidating sort of positioning. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
I think this is a great picture to do now. You've got this. You've got this one done. Come back in 4, 8, 12 months. You know, whenever you feel ready, and redo it and see how
Hmm.
you've improved. I think that will be great for you.
Because it will be astonishing,
Yeah,
honestly. Ha ha ha!
that's
Laugh.
about all I've got. Is it's a good start. It looks like as Fluffy said, you might want to go back to your under sketching and reevaluate how you've been doing that because it seems
Hmm.
elements are missed.
Yeah.
And
Just I mean I think sketching is so much more important than coloring. I see lots of people like trying to force themselves into like I'm trying to learn this like digital painting, and they're trying to do like view after like just really gorgeous sort of digitally painted stuff, but like their ponies don't look right because they haven't like got the actual style down yet. And I think just you do yourself a lot of the time for a lot of people you do yourself a bigger favor to just step back from the digital and just like draw, or you can sketch digitally if you want, fine, but just do lots of drawings, just like not lining or coloring anything, just drawing ponies, just like look at references, look at other people's art, whatever, like figure out things and just sketch lots of different styles, sketch the same faces from different angles and lots of different times, so just because you'll build up yeah, familiarity with how the style feels, and everything will feel a lot neater. You'll figure out how oh, this eye needs to be moved this way. Because you'll look back at your old sketches and think, wow, what was I thinking with this? That's just how you build your artistic eye.
all right. If anyone else has any art they'd like to submit, please fire it towards us at great velocity. Otherwise, we'll call it a day.
Fire that art at us. Make an attack roll. Wait, no, this isn't D&D.
Ooh, but what if
Otherwise, you just roll a d20 for art and then add your performance modifier. I got a very mediocre 10. My desk is filled with dice. Got a 12. So you keep at art and you'll gradually improve. It is cold, and even more so for CPC. Shame we finished up the art before Ali could even go.
I'm sure she'll enjoy another day off. But we'll get her. We'll get her. We might have to shift around things, based on people's schedules.
Maybe.
Who knows? I'm fine with shifting it later. I know, though, Fluffy might not be.
No, but we were sort of talking about the idea of having like different. So we have like a lot of European artists here.
Yeah.
We were like talking about the idea of doing different like shows at different times. So we'll have to look. We'll have a think.
All right. Well, we got no more art in the last minute or 2 minutes. So that was a short one. Thank you all for coming. We'll see you again next week. Maybe. I don't know. Look for the post.